thing she asked, like, "You guys gonna talk about Diddy?" I was like, "All right, I mean, I guess I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like I don't want to like equate it to the Michael Jackson thing or whatever, where like everybody knew about Michael, but you didn't know the exact details. And kind of the same situation here. I knew like I felt like I think that Diddy like was probably some kind of freak or had some kind of like which I think a lot of celebrities do that. You know what I mean? Like that's Holly weird. They call it that for a reason or whatever. So I'm not that phased by it, I guess, but.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna stop playing his music. It's not like I played his music in the first place, like unless it was on the radio, one of those hits, I wasn't like really like a big Diddy person, so it's whatever.
Well, that's
Yeah,
also probably because you didn't get into his last album, right? But I know Don was all about it.
Good
man.
point.
You know what's funny? Because like I tried to go back to it maybe like a week or two ago just to see how I felt, and it does feel a little different. And a lot of the little like ad libs he says in the background does sound crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like he's got a song on there called like "Baby Come Back Home," and it's like when you hear it now, you're like, dang, he's like talking to Cassie, and he's like, "Come on home, girl." You know what I'm saying? Leave that husband in your come. It sounds weird now. It does sound weird, but I'm with Brian. I don't really. I mean, outside of that album, it really wasn't a Diddy album. It was Diddy in the background while he had some fire like R&B artists. So I'll listen to that. But if you think about an actual Diddy project, no one's running to listen to, you know what I'm saying, we ain't going no, like that's you know what I'm
Not
saying, like,
wrong. That's the only one I was gonna say that people actually know of is like the No Way Out, like
yeah, and we
That was
don't
after
run
that was
to it.
after
Like
Wait,
I can't
yeah.
remember the last time I said let me go listen to Victory real quick. Like I
Basically,
don't listen to Diddy. No one does. Like we don't look at Diddy as like a, I mean they look at him as a hip-hop icon, but it's only because of his like producing credits and stuff. Like
yeah.
I don't go, I can honestly say I've never said let me play some Diddy. You know what I'm saying? But no, I really
I,
didn't really want to talk too crazy much about Diddy. The only thing for me is like, I think it's kind of whack how people are like looking at his quote unquote freak offs as like a bad thing. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? And I'm only saying that because,
yeah.
like, look,
Say more.
what's up?
Tell me what do you mean by that?
Well, okay, I'll say this. Whatever he's being charged for in terms of like the trafficking and all that, that's illegal and all that good stuff, cool. But like, people trying to ostracize him because he like, oh, you go to a Diddy party and at 2 in the morning, he could be with a woman or a dude. So what? That's his bag. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, or Diddy was found with all this baby oil. All right, it sounds crazy, of course,
But
but
yeah,
if he's just using it to get his shit off, is that illegal to if that's his
Yeah.
bag? You know what I mean? So
yeah.
all that like freak off stuff in that regard, I don't care for. Like, oh, that's fine, whatever. Now, the trafficking part, there's nothing even really saying about like underage women. It's just like prostitutes and stuff like that, and maybe coercing people into like activities. That's the part I'm not down with. But the whole like, oh, you never know if he could be in the men or women. So what? Like that's his bag.
Yeah.
Let him be in his bag. That's the part that I don't care for. Like that's the part where
Yeah.
like the court of public opinion, like I don't look at him different because of that. That's the industry. A lot of these dudes and women that people into, that just happens. You know what I'm saying? It's the negative connotation of it, like the actual illegal stuff, that's what I'm more worried about. Him beating up Cassie, that's absolutely crazy. That's the stuff that I'm like, he should go to jail for. But these all freak out stuff, like he's just getting his bag, man. Like let him live. That's the only part I'm talking about.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And just a little bit on that freak off thing, I think the only way I can relate to it is in a similar vein of going to a party, going to a club, and you just got to know when time's up, it's time to dip before it gets kind of weird and crazy. And
Yeah.
you can know like the club closes at 2, that don't mean you got to stay till 2. You stay till maybe 1:15 and then you slide out before the lights come
Before
on and
dark.
all
Fam,
before
we all
people
we
get
all did like
desperate before
we all did
before the fight.
house parties in high school and college. You go to a kegger, you're chilling, everything is lit
Yep.
until either A, somebody
Right.
pulls out some jokes you're not into, or B, you
A
start
fight.
hearing some drunk person arguing with another drunk person. You're like, okay, it's time to go, especially in the part of the town I'm in, because someone's busting guns in a second. And then you hear later on, oh man, so and so shot so. Well, I was gone already. So you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So
That's the thing I could relate to. And you hear a lot of
Exactly.
celebrities now
Exactly.
saying, I didn't see it because I did before it got crazy. I only stayed until 5 in the morning. It's like, okay, but
yeah, so
that's the only
that's
way I can relate.
That's the
Yeah.
biggest thing. Like, I don't care that supposedly if authorities found all this baby, so what? Like, again, if he was using that to put people against their will, cool, that's a different story. But I'm not trying to hear all this. He's like pictured with Meek and pictured with Fab, and it's like, what was they really talking about? You ain't partied with me. It's like, that's whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I
Not to
think
you.
like
And I was
you
gonna
go
say
ahead.
this similar thing, like, because I knew it was gonna come up, like in our conversation at the same time. I was like, we don't really need to talk about it too much, because at the same time, like, I agree basically what Don was saying. At the end of the day, adults being adults, you do your thing. Like, dude, there's a club out here, and I was talking to Mari about it, my girl. She's in there laying down. I was telling her about it last night because she just heard about the baby oil stuff and all that. And I was like, at the end of the day, shoot, people, there's a house down the street that got baby oil, they got lube, they got toys. There's this club in Seattle that is swingers bar or whatever. If you go to that spot, I guarantee they have all this, that, and the other. Who cares? Like, I'm just tired of seeing all the memes about it, like people making fun of them, people ostracizing them. At the same time as these people a year and a half ago were saying, "Oh, he's the best. He's the greatest producer. I want to see him versus Dre. I want to see him versus this. I want to." You are saying one bad thing about him now, but now everybody has a bad story. Like, come on. Like, I just hate that out of people. Like, every time somebody is going down, everybody wants to jump on that bandwagon of hating on them. And the fact that other stuff is going on in the world, and we're talking about freaking P. Diddy having, sex parties. Like, dude, there's an election going on. There's the 23andMe. Most people don't even know about that 23andMe being freaking rated, or all the CEOs all quitting on the same day as P. Diddy got arrested. But nobody's talking about that. Nobody's talking about the fact that their freaking thing got hacked, and millions of people's data and DNA got released to the public and released to this. Nobody's talking about that. But everybody's talking about Cardi B and Offset and P. Diddy and stuff. Like, that's the world we live in. It's crazy. Because, like, when you think about it, every time there's a go and there's freaking people dying, there's a flood in a part of the country. Like, people are not talking about that, but people are talking about P. Diddy. Like, every time there's a natural disaster or something that makes something going on, every election, there
Mhm.
always there's always a celebrity in the news, and people don't notice this. Like, dude, don't you notice this is habit? Like, this happens all the time. I just think it's, oh, dude. Like I
Yeah,
said, everything he did illegal. If he did anything illegal, he goes to jail for that. But anything else, let the man be the man.
it's kind of like a hypocrisy thing where, like, all of a sudden people are all in shock and awe, like, oh, shame on them for doing XYZ, when again, it's pretty much assumed they probably were doing something like, again, we don't know all the details, and yeah, maybe it was shocking to hear that much baby oil, but
Yeah,
also, was it really that much baby oil, or was it exaggerated, or was it assumed or
exactly.
whatever? Or, there's so many facts that get misconstrued, so it's kind of hard to take it on surface level and just go with it and be like, yeah, that's exactly what happened. And these people were involved and these people were involved. And then that's where it gets to all those conspiracies. And
Yeah,
in reality, again, like, they have those pornos with the casting couch, and they have those, theories about like, oh, hey, if you want to get to the big leagues, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. Black men always having to wear dresses in, like, TV shows and stuff like that. So there's certain things that you have to do because there is like a in the entertainment industry, at least, there are, like, doors or gateways that you have to have opened, and the way you have to open those doors is you have to open your backside, or some bullshit like that. You know what I mean?
open your
And,
door.
and so
Yeah,
it's not like these just theories just came out of nowhere. So there are probably a lot of things that some people do. The guys that you think are like the hardest hardcore gangster dudes probably did some feminine stuff. I mean, I love Tupac to death. Tupac is hella dope to me. But he was in art school or whatever, like when he was younger and stuff. And like, I'm saying it's not like fruity or whatever, and not trying to offend anybody or anything of that nature. But I'm saying, like, you know, it's not like he was like thug life his entire life or whatever, you know what I mean? And so the same thing
Yeah,
with other people where it's like, oh, that dude looks straight, but maybe he does play around with some dudes. Like Diddy may be doing that, with some dudes. I don't know. But like Don said, what does it matter? That's their life. Let them be, let them do what they do. Like, I may not do it, but they want to do that, whatever
exactly.
feels for them. The part
Yeah,
that has me though is that, again, going to the illegal aspect of it, like outside of like the Cassie thing, where we actually had video evidence, I honestly don't know what he's doing wrong or whatever, like when he's getting raided and this and that and so on and so forth. I haven't paid enough attention to it, so I will acknowledge that. But also, I remember a while back there was someone else, I don't know if it was Diddy or someone else they were talking about in regards to the charges of trafficking females for sex and so on and so forth. Apparently, it's like one of those situations, or it could be, it could be one of those situations where, well, by law, this is what it's considered, but really it wasn't like his trafficking. Like, so
Yeah.
how everybody talks about like, oh, he flew that girl out. He flew that girl out. You fly a girl out from Atlanta to New York to, take her out on a date, which obviously is going to lead to sex and whatever. That could be considered trafficking,
yeah,
apparently. So like they'd be filing
yeah. It's
charges
all the
for dudes for
wording.
that.
It's all
So
the
it's like,
legal word of the law when you
yeah,
think
and
of
so
it and what
is
it
it one of those
actually is.
situations, or is it actually like no, he's like trafficking women, like he's flying them out and prostituting, you know what I mean? So the gray
Yeah,
areas of things is where I'm kind of like, I every time I hear more news coming out and all this stuff, I'm like, if you're a multi-millionaire producer, why do you have to like? I get like maybe a power aspect, and that's why you do something like that, but I don't see why you'd risk like, again, you're a legit legal millions or whatever it is, just to like, do whatever this is outside that, like your common pimp or, whoever
right.
would do, so
Yeah,
it's whatever.
I feel you.
I'm
Two
always
things.
curious to know, like, and obviously, God willing, hopefully one of us can get there one day, but like, what is it that makes, like, the second you hit your first million or 2 million or 3 million, that like makes you feel like you have to become some like powerful person all of a sudden and like change your ways? You know what I mean? Like, imagine us now, the money we make, we're regular people, right? Then all of a sudden you have like 50, 60, 70 million in your account. Do you feel like the next day you got to be powerful and like I got to go sleep who I want to sleep with or do what I want to do and just like act wild and crazy because I can? Like, you think about all these powerful people like a Diddy, a Trump, or all these other sick ass like people, they're all millionaire and billionaires. Like, what is it about that much amount of money that makes you all of a sudden go, I'm a regular citizen, I hustle, I grind or whatever, and then one day I got $1 billion in the account. I'm gonna do whatever the hell I want because I got $1 billion. Like, what is it about
So,
that? I don't, you know what I'm saying?
I
Like,
don't think
so
it's the
I
money.
thought
I
about I
don't think
thought
it's the
about that, like,
money. I think
but
it's the person, like, because you can say that, and I had this conversation about it's like when you work with somebody and all of a sudden they get a supervisor role and all of a sudden they just change. They're this arrogant at BS a-holes and they go
mhm,
on a power trip. It's the person, it's not the money. Because look at J. Cole, look at Andre 3000, there's several, look at Bill Gates. There's several celebrities that don't have that God complex. It's just we know the ones that do. Those are the ones that are in your face. I think it's a personality. If you're a horrible human
agreed.
being, you're a horrible human being. Like freaking Johnny Bone Jones, freaking Conor McGregor. Like, those are the people that doing all this stupid stuff, getting arrested every few months because they got money buying ridiculous stuff. But there's other millionaire fighters that just chill at home with their wife and kids playing video games, like Demetrius Johnson. Like, there's several people that are millionaires that don't act ridiculous. It's just if you a bad person, you a bad person.
Facts. And to add to that, I think not only is it that they're just bad, but because now they have millions, now they have the access to it. And
mm-hmm.
I don't think it's just that like overnight, you got $1 million in your bank account, now you're gonna act like an a-hole. It's more so you've had millions of dollars for a while. And then as you get bored, it's like, dang, like, all right, so I have all this money and I have like, 10 girls hollering at me. well, if I show more, if I make more money, I can get like 20 girls hollering at me. Now you got 20 girls, now you got 100 girls. And so I got 100 girls, like, so I got my pick of the litter. I don't want to do all these girls. Let me do these girls. And I got all my boys. Let me get these guys and have them. Like, let's have a little sex part, like, and so it just continues to build up and like more of your personality of being a bad person or, the negative things that you do or whatever comes out as time progresses because again like you're just bored with your money or whatever,
Yeah.
whereas like Quincy said, you do have people where it's like, and I feel like I'm one of those people. I'm not saying I'm a good person, but if I had millions of dollars in my account, like I'm pretty cool. I don't need to like I don't need the para trip. I don't think I need the para trip. If I get bored with my millions traveling or whatever, okay. Instead of traveling now, like let me try to see if I can like, make some businesses or something. Or okay, I get
Yeah.
done making businesses or I failed with my businesses. Let's see what else can I do with my money. Let me like, give money to like, the homeless people and everything and try to help build somebody else up or whatever. Like I think I could come up with different things to keep me occupied with my millions versus like being on a power trip where it's like, all right, now I need to control these people. I have all these millions of dollars. I can buy people's lives. Let me do this. Let me do, like, so I think it's just
Yeah.
a combination of things that your personality, the person you are internally, and the freedom you have, or like you just get bored having the money. You can't find anything productive to do with it.
I
Yeah,
feel you.
because
And to
I'm always
piggyback on
like,
that, sorry, go. No, I was gonna
no,
say
go
real
ahead, go
quick
ahead.
to piggyback on what Brian was saying is that, and it's kind of like that old saying, and I'm gonna use my words carefully because it's monetized and stuff. Like when you're watching adult entertainment, like when you're younger, it's like the more you watch, like you see it different. Like, oh, you may start watching girl, girl, then guy, girl. Now you watching three way. Now you watching this. Like, the more you watch of something else, you can't go back to that. So, like, the more you do and the more crazy stuff you get into, it's like, okay, now that's too regular. That's too vanilla for me. Now I gotta see what else is out there. Like I said, the
Yeah.
more crazy stuff you do, it's like, hey, I want to keep doing more crazy stuff. I want to keep going on and on. I think there's that part too.
I guess because I mean I think about like me now, right? Like see you always see like the billionaires that are like, oh, I gotta like sleep with every girl in in the U.S. And for me, I'm like, fam, I just need a couple times a week and I'm Gucci. Like, what I'm saying? I don't feel like if all of a sudden if I had 20, 30 mil in the account, I'm about to go on these wild sexcapades or want to do
Yeah.
this and do that and just be a power trip. And like kind of like Brian said, I want to travel and kick it. You know what I'm saying? But I just always I always thought about that. Like, why is it that again, a Trump or all the, not even just Trump, just like people in general, you always hear the crazy stories. And it's like, oh, the multi-billionaire flies to this secret location, at 2 in the morning on this island to do this. Is like, why y'all got to go through these rituals because you got bread? Like, you can't just do the same thing in your little hometown, like quietly. You know what I'm saying?
And
Yeah.
again, going back on it, going back to like the situation I was saying, where like over time it develops. You gotta think about it. Like right now, you just mentioned right now, if we had the millions, what we do talking about travel and stuff like that, whatever, right? We gotta look at, or if I had millions when I was like, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, because a lot of these people that are like, that you find out have done some things or whatever, they've had money for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when you're
Yep.
younger, for
That
example,
too.
flashback to like 20-year-old Brian, 20-year-old Brian, I got millions of dollars where I came into millions of dollars. I'm gonna be a fool with it. Like I'm gonna be doing stupid stuff. I didn't have any interest to travel whatsoever at that point. I just wanted to go to basketball games, play basketball games, and like meet some fine women. So
Mm-hmm.
yes, I've been meeting some fine women, and like because growing up and watching adult entertainment, like, oh yeah, let me try to do this, let me try to do that. Oh, now I know about this. Let me try, like so I could see myself progressing and doing those certain things. Would that lead down a rabbit hole of now me having like big ASS orgy sex parties and stuff like that? I don't know, maybe. And that's where, again, I could be that bad person as well. But now that we're older and like, it's like, yeah, like you mentioned, like, a couple times a week is good for me. Like, you don't have that, desire to do those things that you did when you were in your 20s and so on and so forth.
Facts.
With these guys that had all this
True.
money and stuff, like, they were able to, like, indulge in those desires and it just kind of continue to progress further and further. So I think it's hard for us to argue and say like I don't see how they could do these things when again they've had money for so long that versus us like now having experienced life and knowing what to value in life if we were to get money now completely different than what we do with money much earlier.
Facts.
Agreed.
Facts. Earl, you've been kind of quiet.
Yeah.
Gucci over there?
Yeah.
No, I mean, you guys are jumping right in. I'm not going to overtalk, but I definitely have my thoughts on this. I would say that it starts from the struggle. Most of them started, I mean, with the exception of Trump, most of them started where they had nothing, and then all of a sudden they had a whole lot of something. And so then they call that struggle being hood rich or being ninja rich, right? Where they just now got to show and flex and flaunt and be like, all right, I've always wanted a Lexus and everybody else got Hondas. Now I'm here. And I got the rims and now I'm here and now it's got the women. And I think like Brian was saying, after a while you run out of things to buy. Like there's only so many houses, there's only so many cars, and then you got a private jet now. You're moving up, you're like, there's nothing else to buy. So what can I do with this? So then power and influence becomes networking. I'm not just going to the show, but I'm going backstage and I'm meeting Usher. I'm going backstage and I'm meeting Rick Ross. And then now, favor for a favor. We're doing this, I'm doing that, piece of this business, piece of that. Like it's just then you get into these compromising situations and where now I owe you or you owe me, or now I'm doing whatever you're doing and you're doing whatever I'm doing. So I think it quickly just evolves into something where you look back and you're like, how did we even get here?
Mm-hmm.
I think if I was a multimillionaire, it's a little bit harder because I had a family structure. I had, some concept of what money is. That it's not something that you would just blow when you have kids, when you have a whole lot of stuff going on and you know the value of money. I think people are just disrespectful to it. Where,
Yeah.
so I mean, I don't know.
I
I
feel
think
you.
there is a limit to at a certain point because they say like if you make $50 million a year, that's the equivalent of being a billionaire, where everything is paid for, where like you never run out of credit, you never run out of, when you want to buy clothes and they're basically giving you clothes for free just to be a brand sponsor or just to like,
Mhm.
just like it's a certain point that the taxes are taken care of because you don't collect an income, you collect a capital, income where you collect a stock dividend, so it's just a whole different world that we'll never be privy to until you get to that echelon. So.
I also think it like, uh, to a point kind of helps you eliminate humanity from like your perception of people and think like, people aren't people. They're just like commodities or they're like toys you can play with and stuff. And that's where that power and control comes about, where it's like, all right, like, well, uh, I'm gonna have this person, like Jackass or whatever, right? Like the Jackass TV show where it's like, oh, let's just do stupid or whatever. It's like, all right, well, I'm not gonna like, slingshot myself in like a in a porta potty and like have all this all over me, but I think it'd be funny to see someone else do it, so I'm gonna pay them to do it. And then you're able to pay them to do it or whatever, and then you think like, oh, okay, I like sexual stuff. Okay, let me get these two girls and have them like, kissing over like a cup of like poop or whatever and eat it, and like just you get to weird that you can do because they're like, all right, yeah, this isn't a person. I'm gonna treat them like whatever. And that power aspect, then you start to think you're invincible because you can buy whatever you want. You can buy people. So it's like, okay, well, like I can get away with XYZ because I have enough money where I can pay them off if someone, complains or whatever, or, and I think it's just, yeah, a lack of humanity at that point with some people. And that's outside of the, like rags to riches, grown up poor thing, because again, not saying he's this way so much, but Donald Trump, I don't think he really gives a shit about like, poor people or whatever. And like, again, they're just a nuisance or whatever just to get rid of and things of that nature. And so you have more money. Some people still treat people nice and everything. Some people treat people like shit or whatever. They said Ellen DeGeneres on her show or whatever, the Ellen show, like she was a rude person or whatever. Jimmy Fallon, supposedly he was rude.
Yeah,
I
but
know Oprah, like she's
I
had some
kind of
rude moments and
disagree.
stuff like that. And there's different levels of, again, respect for other people or just being like, oh no, I'm above you because I have all this money. And there's some people that take that to the extreme with their money, like Diddy, it seems, or, Jeffrey Epstein or whatever. And like, same situation with him where he got into some issue or whatever. And like everybody wanted to be quiet because, they're all seeing him photos with him. Now this is like the black version seeing Diddy or whatever. So it's just people and money. And
But
again, going all the
I
way
think
back to
it's
what Quincy said, it's just the underlying, like person that they are. It's just coming out because now they have money to show it, essentially.
Go ahead, Harold. What were you
It's,
about to say?
I think it's the reality also of fake love, where some people are open, their eyes are open earlier about this ain't real, genuine friendship or genuine love. Like you see me as a lick, as someone to take advantage of. You see me as an opportunity. You see me as a job creator or whatever it is, right? But once that faucet runs dry, like, where are you? And so I think a lot of people, it's like, okay, well, you're here for a reason. You're taking advantage of me. So I'm going to take advantage of you in any way I can. So it's the whole like, yes, they don't see value in humanity, but it's also like they're at a certain level where people are like, I'm gonna go to a party because maybe they'll get me a record deal, or I'm gonna go to a party because maybe
Yeah.
they'll get me my podcast started up, or I'm gonna appear on his Revolt show or whatever, right? And then next thing you know, it's worked for a lot of people. I'm now on the payroll, right? But then in another sense, he's like, all right, well, is this a mutually beneficial relationship? Like, what am I getting out of this other than, you leeching off me? There's got to be ways in which I can have some sort of benefit beyond just the altruistic
True.
aspect. So I think a lot of people, if you're Donald Trump, he's like, yeah, a lot of people are here for a reason. They're here for a good time, not a long time. So what I'm going to do is make sure I blatantly say what I'm going to do for you and what I'm going to do around your back. And he's just very blunt. So people are like, I respect that. He says what's on his mind. Okay. But it would come off a certain way if it was another black dude.
Hmm.
Um, so I think it's a lot of fake love. It's
That's true.
Diddy's now realizing that nobody really messed with him like that. They were just there because he was the top boss guy.
Hmm.
He might have a few true, genuine friends, but for the most part, they're not real.
Yep. That's why I was kind of talking to you about like when we were talking a week or so ago about friends and like being involved and being in groups and organizations and stuff when we were having a conversation. And when I was like, I told you if you want to quote unquote, equate people to money, I was like, I told you I'd rather have 4 quarters than, 100 pennies. Like, I don't want all these fake people around me. I don't need that. I just need a few good, genuine people. I don't need to be involved in that life. So that's why I'm not like in a lot of groups or a lot of activities where like, sure, I got my kids, I got my girl, I got you guys, like, I got my homie I go fishing with, like, but at the end of the day, I'm like, I don't have a Instagram with a million people, 1,000 people, or nothing like that because none of that stuff is real. It doesn't benefit me. It doesn't like satisfy me. I know this generation is a little different where that's what makes them feels like they have a purpose, like by having these people that tell them they're special and they're friends and this and that. But to me, you call me old, call me old school, call me different, whatever you want to call me, but it is what it is. I don't like fakeness. Like the only social media I have is Facebook, and like every single person on my Facebook is like somebody I genuinely know, like actually hung out with, shake their hand, maybe hugged. Maybe all of them are not, friends, but it's people that actually know and care enough about to add to my Facebook at least.
I'm
But
not
other
mad.
than
I'm
that,
not mad at because you said like you only have your few core friends and then like that's it. But like in terms of like trying to add to extra groups and stuff like that, I agree with that to a degree. But I don't mind like if I'm online joining certain I guess groups or whatever of similar interests. Like I'm not looking for friendships, but like say if I'm online and someone's having like a barbecue discussion or for me like sports or something like that, joining groups like that and just chopping it up with sports with other people who are like in terms of sports talk or food talk or sneaker talk. I don't mind joining those. You know what I'm saying? Like I actually appreciate those because a lot of my core friends aren't into the same things as I am. You know what I'm saying? So like it's none to me to like chop it up with someone and talk about sneakers for 2 3 hours or used to at least or like card
right.
stuff or sneakers stuff or just something like that in general. So I feel you on that, but in terms of like being online and or just I don't think that's being like fake or facade love or like I'm not fulfilled if I'm online just chopping it up with a bunch of like-minded people about like-minded things, music,
Quick, quick
I'll
question
talk to
for you.
No,
anybody
and
about it.
Quick
I'll
question
go
for you,
back
Don.
to a little point. Sorry, real quick. Like, and I don't mean like all of it is bad. Don't get me twisted. Like, because I agree to a certain point. Like, yeah, like if I was on group things before where hey, like learning how to cook, learning how to do chai, learning how to do barbecues, learning how to do stuff, or just getting information like about like I was doing something with fishing, like, hey, I need to learn what's a good bait, what's a good technique to when I go crabbing, whatever. So when it's beneficial, when I'm gonna learn something off of it, or it's gonna be a cool little conversation, I don't mind it. I'm talking more in a sense where I I don't need to feel validated by just having people around. Like if it's something that is gonna have a conversation and it's gonna be cool, but when there's people that like have, you know, thousands of friends that they never even spoke to or never had a conversation with before, that's what I'm talking about. Stuff like that where I need 5 million people on my Instagram and I never talked to not one of them before about anything. That's what I'm more talking about. But if it's actually real conversations, real beneficial, then I'm all for it. Yeah.
All right. Well, what was your question, Harold?
Yeah. No, I mean, I was just gonna say on the friends versus having social media friends or whatever, based off of those interests. I kind of agree with you. Do you think it could be a friend or maybe some other level if you don't know them as David, but you know them as D Money Hustle, right? Like,
I mean, yeah, I've actually like found myself like considering some of these online people friends. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't it because a lot of times, depending on you always gravitate to certain people again if you're like minded, right? So it could start with a sports group or whatever, and you guys are chopping it up about sports. And in that conversation, sometimes you might say, "Yeah, I'm about to go watch the game at this bar with my kids." Oh, you got kids? Me too. And then like it starts transitioning to another conversation, and then eventually those conversations build, and then before you know it, you find yourself like at the end of that conversation being like, "Oh, that was that was cool. That was." I guess beneficial. That felt good in the soul to talk to somebody like myself who has similar interests, similar family values, or whatever, and then, you go back the next week and like, yo, how was your week? Oh, it was cool. I couldn't wait to get to this football game. Me too. Oh, on the way to the bar, I was listening to, Kendrick new joint. Oh, that joint is fire. And you know what I'm saying? Like, eventually you start to kind of build a rapport. And before you know it, you're like, yo, we've been talking for the entire football season or whatever. So yeah, I can equate to that. You know what I mean? And I think in this day and age, I don't think you look for that, but it's easier to become friends with somebody, especially to what Brian was saying earlier. Ever since COVID, people don't go out as much as they used to. You know what I'm saying? Like we met more friends in a more social atmosphere outside at the mall, at the. When's the last time you went to the park to go play pickup? You know what I'm saying? Like we'll go to a gym to play pickup, but when's the last time you know what I'm saying? Like been to the park to go play pickup or just drive around just to drive or go pick up a CD or something like that. Like you don't meet people like that anymore. You feel me? So yeah, a D Money, versus someone who I really know. Yeah, I can rock with them and consider them friends.
I feel you.
I think it there's like everything, there's always different levels of stuff like that. I always used to say like I got a few friends and plenty of acquaintances.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of those acquaintances are on Facebook because like you meet somebody or whatever, and that was like nowadays it's either Instagram or what's your Snapchat or whatever, what's your handle, all that ish that people say when they talk, converse or whatever. But you'd meet somebody and it's like, oh yeah, like, oh, add me on this or add me on that, because you met them, you had one good conversation, and so it's like, oh yeah, like these people have things in common. You go and then you add them, they're on your Facebook, and you totally forget, like 2-3 months down the line, it's like, oh yeah, I remember that dude from such and such, but again, you're not really corresponding or whatnot with them. And then usually after a while, at least for me, it's like, all right, well, there's that one or two incidents where we interacted. I ain't hearing nothing else. And now all of a sudden, this dude's just posting stuff up about like stuff that I don't care about, whether it's Trump or country music or something. It's like, yeah, it's not going to miss me if I go ahead and delete him. So I'll just remove him off. You know what I mean? Like, and I do like to keep my Facebook, which again, I don't have a whole lot of social media, but Facebook, when I do get on, I like to keep that limit or that number down. I think I'm below 200. I'd prefer to be below 100, like friends they have as your Facebook people, because the more people you have, like I got friends that have like thousands of people and stuff on down their Facebook, and it's like there's no way you're going to be able to scroll through all the different updates of all those people to see the important
Right.
things, like, oh, like your cousin just got married or just had like a baby or whatever. You're not going to see that post and be able to congratulate them or something like that, which is
Yeah.
something you probably would want to do because you
All you
have
see is
all
memes
these
of Diddy
ads
now.
and all these miscellaneous people with all their, you know what I mean? So I get
Exactly.
it in that sense. And with going back to the nicknames and stuff like that, I'd probably consider those people acquaintances as well, and acquaintances that could graduate to friendships, in the sense that I remember going to the gym or back when we did go to the park, you go, you meet up people, hey, like you got five, and then you just run, you jump on somebody's squad or whatever, right? And then like, after the game wraps up or whatever, if like they have, like some sporting event, like some football game coming on, or if someone actually happens to have like, a shirt that's repping some team or whatever, you start to build a rapport and you'll talk that stuff or whatever. But I don't remember ever like, asking a person like when I went to join up and play basketball, hey, what's your name? Usually it's just because I heard other people saying like this person's nickname and that's how it developed or whatever. Or, if I do know their name, I know their first name. I don't know their phone number. I don't know like, what they do for work, etc. And this is a person that I've been playing basketball with for the last 4 years. You know what I mean? And I want to say they have like it's either a meme or a skit on one of those like comedy shows or something like that. But it had like a dude talking like, oh yeah, they talk to his girl or whatever, and it's like, oh, how do you not know his this? How do you not know? And it's like, no, I just play ball with the dude, you know what I mean? Like,
That's funny.
because I think
Right.
guys, that's how it is, like we just build friendships.
Yep.
Just we don't need to know everything about the motherfucker. Like he has good pull up jump shot or whatever, and that's good enough, So
Right.
I look at it like that, where I have a lot of people, or I've experienced and had encounters with a lot of people like that. Even my barber, like I talk to my barber all the time, and not just about like, hey, can I get a cut? It's like, hey, yeah, hey, good luck for your team this week, or something, like just random stuff or whatever. But at the same time, it's not a dude where if my car broke down, I'm gonna call him being like, hey, yo, can you give me a jump? Because he's not like at that level of a friendship with me, you know what I mean? We're like, he's a go-to person, I'm a go-to person for him. It's just we have this rapport. So kind of like
Yeah.
acquaintance friendship level, but yeah, your close-knit group of friends, I'm with you on that, Q. Like I'm not trying to have like a whole lot of people that would rely on me or that I need to rely on and so on and so forth. I need to have known you for a decent amount of years and had not just known you added on Facebook, but actually having like rapport, met you in person. We, have had discussions, we've had arguments, I need
Right.
more but something built up for it to be like a close relationship as a friendship from my perspective.
Facts,
Agreed,
facts.
100%. And I'm the same
So
way.
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. It's all good. Go ahead.
No, you said you're the same way.
No, I was saying I'm the same way. It's like, and people will equate like, I was saying like, for me, like for a friend, I consider like, hey, I gotta know you. I gotta, if you got a family, gotta know you. Not even like for the most part, like met your family, even if I didn't meet them, but they know they exist. I know you got kids. I know their names. Like, I met all y'all family except for and I haven't met the family, but I know of them. I seen them. Pictures. We talked about them, so we all know we got the family. So that's why I consider y'all friends. And my boy, like, his my boy out here, his freaking kids call me Uncle Q. To the certain extent, that's some people say, oh, that's close friends. Like, nah, to me, that's a friend. Like, if I just know you at work and I taught you, like girl was saying, like, oh, you're friends with such and such. I'm like, we work together. We ain't friends. We talked. We know each other, but that's not my boy. That's just a dude that I'm cool with him. I don't have no animosity towards him because I have a conversation with him. We had a beer once at a happy hour, but that dude we ain't friends. Like,
Yeah,
your definition of friend and my definition of friend are two different things.
crazy.
Because sure the hell
That
can't count on the dude.
that
Um,
reminds me, real quick. That reminds me of like years and years and years ago. They had that situation where a couple of girls were like trapped in some dude's house or whatever, and like one of the girls got out, and then she ran to this black dude, and like they ended up uncovering everything, and he's like, "We ate ribs at this dude's house," it's like so. I mean, like that's the you can have like people that but you don't know them. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, like I just work with the dude, and I'm able to talk with him, but I don't know this motherfucker, so I'm about
Right?
to claim him as a friend and find out he's like doing some Diddy stuff, you know what I mean? So that's funny.
Right?
that's crazy. I was
It's
gonna do
true.
a quick little segue question from because we were talking a lot about social media. So the majority of you, how your oldest Q is how old?
20.
Oh, okay, and then B yours.
19.
Okay. Well, because so I'm going through a little something with social media, right? So Taylor is my oldest, she's 12, and she finally she's been asking for social media for a while, and I've been like holding off, holding off, holding off. And now finally she's like, Dad, can I please have like an Instagram, right? So Mildred and I finally talked about it, and they have like this thing now where you can do like a teen Instagram where like there's certain parameters you can put on there and stuff. And I've been trying to hold off as long as possible because there's sickos out there in the world, and I'm trying to like shield them. But at the same token, she's 12. You know what I'm saying? And like I don't want her to be the friend in the group that doesn't have it. So
Mm.
I'm like, I think we're gonna go ahead and let her have it. But like for you guys that have like either older kids or been in their kids' lives or whatever, I know Harold, yours aren't there yet, but like when do you guys feel comfortable saying, all right, you know what I'm saying? Like you can go ahead and get this, like whatever, MySpace at the time, whatever it was, or Facebook or because fam, I'm literally struggling with it because even though
Nah,
I know I can watch like or I can monitor like what she's
but you only can see
scrolling.
so much.
Well, and not even that. I don't want to be that invasive as a parent because I trust them. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like I don't want to be that invasive. I want them to like have their own like individuality and like learn and grow because I mean that's you're just going to. But at the same token, I know myself, and if one dude says one crazy thing to her, I'm gonna lose my mind. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So
Nah, I'm the same, dude. Trust me, I struggled with it for a minute, and like, because Instagram was still big and popular, and Snapchat and all that stuff when she was like, 15, 16, and I didn't want her to have it. I didn't like, no, nah, because like when I say something, and that's one reason, like, kind of the one reason of the falling out with me and my ex or whatever, because like, if I make a rule, it's done. It's a rule. Like it's no backtracking. No this. If you can't have something, you can't have it. Like so, the rule in the house was no social media. When she was like 15, 16, no social media. You can't have that. Um, she used to try to found out she was sneaking it, like downloading it and then
really
deleting it
quick, can I
and
ask why
stuff.
though? Like why at 15 or 16? That's kind of my main question. Like, what is it that you felt uncomfortable about her being 15? Her clearly, I mean, at 15, I would assume like even though she's still a kid, she has the wherewithal of what's right and what's wrong. Like, did you feel that she was looking at things wrong on purpose? Was it more so you're trying to protect her from the world, or you just because you don't know what her daily thing is, you didn't want her to be a part of that? Like, what made you go no?
So combination of a little of that. Like first, it was just protective. Especially a little girl being protective dad. For the first part, it was her mom said it, and I backed the play. So her mom didn't want her to have Instagram, and she said if she buys the phone for her, she can't have it. So if, like I said, I'm a rule person, so if that's the rule, then that's what it is. I'm going to stick to it. Her mom didn't want her to have it, so I said, okay, I agree. I'm not going to fight with you. I'm not going to say, well, maybe this, maybe that. No, if that's the rule that you want to have, that's rule to have the phone. Then when we found out she was sneaking in and stuff like that, she took the phone away for like a week. And then when she gave her the phone, she was like, okay, you can have it. Like, you don't reward them. You don't, after you punish them, like, you can't take the phone away if you say you can't do something. Then when you get the phone back, say, oh, well, here, you're going to have it now. You don't learn your lesson. So that was the, my thing with it. And like I said, yeah, being overprotective, especially all of us are men. You always want to protect the woman, quote unquote, especially our girls, our daughters, our sniffing at us or whatever. So, and we know the world. We know what's out there. We know these, unfortunately, these crazy dudes out there. There's crazy people out there in the world. So, just being an overprotective dad to a certain extent.
Hmm.
I didn't want to be, too overprotective. I wanted to give them some leeway, but like I said, if you want that to be a rule, I'm gonna do it. It's like with take it back to when I went to Vegas with the homie and stuff. He was like, hold my money for like a couple of days because I'm gonna spend it all and stuff. Like I told him, like, if you give it to me, it's locked, it's mine for 2 days. I'm not gonna give you no money because I don't care if you want to fight, whatever. Like if you give it to me, it's done, it's locked. I'm only gonna give you money to eat. And because he spent like 300 on the first night, and so he was like afraid he was gonna drop it all. And then the next day, he's like, "Give me some money, man." I was like, "No, I told you I ain't gonna give you no money for 2 days." And he wanted to fight. I was like, "No." 2 days later, I gave him some more money, but I was like, then at the end of the trip, he was like, Thank you. I appreciate it, man, because I would have been had a miserable trip if you didn't. But I'm just that type of person. Like if I said something, I typically try to be iron will with it.
That's better than me because if I was in that situation with the friend, it's like I wouldn't if he's like, hey, hold my money for me. I'll hold it if he wants me to hold it, but I'm gonna be up for the jump. Like, hey, I'm holding it, but if you decide that you want it, I'm gonna give it to you. I'm not even if you tell me right now, don't no, I'm not your daddy. I don't need to control. You're a grown ass man. If you need someone else to hold your money, you can put it in a bank or something like that. I'm not gonna be like, disciplining you and like help you, and that's different money versus like, if it's drugs or something of that nature. But I just don't like to have to be the boss for people per se.
Mhm.
And going back to the kid aspect of it, like so again, she's 19 years old now, the stepdaughter, but at the time, like, when she did get into the social media and stuff like that, me and the wife, we weren't married yet, but she had been with me, like we were living together and all that junk, like since this girl's like 4 or whatever, you know what I mean? Like I've been in her life. So it makes sense that I have that like quote unquote father role.
That's why
But
I asked.
similar to
Yeah.
Quincy, it's like, all right, well, I'm just kind of like let me take the lead from the mom. And with her mom, and I think this overall in general with Jessica's like we're just kind of like I want to say we're laid back parents, but we didn't really like restrict anything fully to like, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do that. It's more so like, all right, you're gonna do this or you want to do this, that's cool, but just know that we're involved. Like
Mhm.
I have no qualms about, oh, like their privacy. No, you're not an adult, you don't have privacy. You're under our house. All right, yeah, like everything you're doing, we're doing. Like there's been multiple times where we threaten, like yeah, we'll take the hinges off the door. You don't need to have your door locked. What the fuck you need your door locked for? Nah,
Mm-hmm.
So we're strict in that sense where it's like anything and everything you do, make sure that you're comfortable doing it in front of us because we're gonna look.
You
So
got
her
doors?
mom,
You
when
got doors in
matter
the
of
house?
fact,
We did take doors off.
yeah, like for matter of fact, when she first had I don't know if she even wanted to have Facebook or is her mom that, added it for her, where it's like, all right, yeah, this is your Facebook. So her mom set up the profile, her mom knows her password. To this day, her mom still knows like, her I think she has like her login and everything for her bank account. So she has her bank account, her savings account, stuff like that. We got her in college and whatnot. And so when I guess on occasion her mom will, and mind you, again, this is a mom. Like I'm just like, hey, like if you need me to know, you like, I'm there to support you, wife, as far as like disciplining this kid. Like so I'm not very hands on in that aspect, but if she'll look on occasion and check her bank account, and it's like, oh, you spent like $200 at Sephora. What do you do that for? Like like, nah, you don't have money just run out of nowhere. You need to save money because if you have $200 for Sephora, you also have $200 for this light bill or the cell phone, what I mean? So it's like, just letting her know, hey, like we will, you can live your life, but don't be surprised if we check up on you and whatever you do, just make sure you're comfortable with us being able to, see it. And by the time that she did have, again, the Facebook, I think her mom set it up and stuff like that. And so her mom knew about who she had added as friends and stuff like that. She got an Instagram. And then, yeah, like one day, again, because it's not like we're checking every day, like hovering over her but just having the access, if after a couple
Yeah.
weeks or something, or if we notice like she's starting to trend to doing something negative, it's like, oh, where's she getting this attitude from? Where's she getting, and then hop in and start looking at her friend group where and it's like, dang, there was one day when her mom like sat her down, like went through like all her friends and like eliminated like 100 plus of them because it's like random people. And it's like, why do you have this person? Why do you have this person? Why do you have this person? And that's where you got these random people. That's where the concern would be like, oh, okay,
Mhm.
now
Yeah.
this guy is trying to like traffic her. They're trying to give her drugs or, so on and so forth. So it's kind of a combination of like giving them freedom, but having the ability to control that freedom if need be. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
so that would be my
I
thought
feel you.
where it's like, hey, yeah, go ahead,
And
let
the fact
Tyler
that they
have a
know,
Facebook, but let her know as well. Like, yeah, just because you have a Facebook, don't think that's you alone. Like, I'm gonna
yeah, I'm
be able
gonna
to look
monitor.
at it and access it if I
Yeah,
need
just
to.
be there. And the fact that they know that you're, not necessarily hovering, but you're keeping them in on track and keeping them in their thoughts and like, okay, well, if I do this, he gonna be mad? Like, okay, so all right, cool, I won't do that. So they have that thought process to a certain extent. Because same with her, like when we first got her the phone, it was tracked to my email, and when I bought her a tablet, it was tracked to my email. So if she downloaded any random app, I would get the notification. So I always tell her like, you can download anything as long as it's appropriate. Just ask permission or tell me like, hey, if it's okay if I download this. If I see you keep downloading random stuff, I'm gonna have a conversation with you eventually. And same with the teachers. Like back in the a few years ago, obviously now she's graduated, but when she was in freshman, freshman sophomore, she started getting a D or whatever because we get the reports on her math. I was like, why are you getting a D? This like in every other class you're getting like a B or A. What's going on? She's like, oh, the teachers not letting me do that, not doing this, and her mom just believed her. She's like, I was like, that doesn't sound right. So took the day off. The next day, went to the school, talked to the teacher, found out it was just her just talking to her friends, and she didn't turn in the work. So I told her, I'm like, here, look, showed her my phone. I got your teacher's email. I talked to her. She texted me. I went to your school today. She told me what happened. I expect you to do that work. Within a month, that D turned into a B. Just her knowing that, hey, okay, dad is not going to just believe whatever I say. I'm going to actually, okay, he's going to pay attention if I get a bad grade. He's going to pay attention if I do something that I shouldn't do. It's all love. It's not being like, hey, overprotective parent to the max, or not being like, these quote unquote disciplinarian figures. I just want to, protect and take
Harold, I
care of.
know. I was gonna say, I know yours a little younger, but what about you in terms of when they eventually want to get on IG or whatever's gonna be popping when they're a little older?
Yeah, I've already thought about it, and I've actually asked a couple other people this kind of same question that have teenagers and they're kind of involved. But so here's my plan, which is subject to change. I think for one, what would help you, especially because like your kids, whatever, you've been around, you know how, and even I know like right now, I have one kid that's more of a rule follower and one kid that's more of like a rule breaker.
Mm-hmm.
So you know what you can kind of allow and kind of give more leeway, and who's going to basically point things out and tell you right away, and others that are going to be trying to kind of a little slinky, and they may be a little more covert with the way they operate. So I think that's going to determine how open and how lenient you are with the the social
Mm-hmm.
media. I think for one, even at 7, my oldest is kind of like, I want to have he doesn't want to have a Facebook or any type of Instagram, but he wants to have is I think it was a YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
So, he's watching YouTube Kids and he's watching a lot of things like Ryan's World
Yep.
or Blippi or these
Mm-hmm.
like kind of low production content where they're just playing with toys or doing a little simple dance or
Mm-hmm.
um drawing or whatever, right? And it's like, well, I could do that. And it's like, well, yeah, now all of a sudden it looks very accessible that anybody could do this. But
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I tell them, I'm like, you have toys, you know how to draw. Why are you spending an hour watching them do the same thing
Exactly.
vicariously, when you could be doing all that? But I think, and they always have the like, share, subscribe. So he does that exact same thing where he knows it as like a regiment that people do, and he acts like
Yeah.
he's doing his own show just and telling me what happened. So it's interesting him kind of relating that as like, this is something that I could do. What's so special about them? I could do that in the future. And so I think he kind of has that mindset already. But I think what my plan, especially working in cybersecurity, is like trying to just make them more savvy with different tools of how to discern what's real and what's fake online.
Yeah.
Going early that someone's trying to
That's
deceive
smart.
scam you out of something. Um, that D Money Hustle might not be David. He might be some bot. He might be some chat AI thing by
Mm-hmm.
now. Like things are going to evolve, especially with AI, really quickly. I think the other thing though is knowing the dangers of oversharing, because again, them being naive and having to take some of that away once they get into the social media realm, you're gonna have to tell like, hey, all these people are not your friends. People that may follow you, even people that are classmates, they may be sharing things, be gossiping things that I never had to deal with. That was kind of just like in your own little neighborhood. But now this has kind of been a
Yeah.
nationwide, global kind of phenomenon. So you got to be careful about how you can be kind of hurt by someone's words if you read every little detail and every comment. So to be careful about the dangers of oversharing. And then the other thing is just like you have to tell them early. So it might be earlier than like you're saying 13, just because nowadays, there was a story about the Bible app, and they were saying the Bible app has kind of like forums and has like you wouldn't think of it as it has like these virtual Bible studies that you can do. It has little chat spaces, and that's a breeding ground for pedos.
Yep.
You go in there and prey on people that are supposedly innocent, just going to check up on what's Ephesians 3. And next thing you know, they're having a conversation about, well, what do you think it means to like find a mate? Like, would you be interested in trying to? And it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Well, where's this conversation going with someone
Yeah.
that's, 8 years old looking at the Bible app? Like, so things like that, you kind of just like start early, and you just never know. It's not just Instagram, it's not just TikTok, it's all these different places where there's a chat space.
Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of where I'm at. Like, it's funny you say too, like you gotta watch the kids and how they move and who's gonna hold more or less. Because with Taylor, she's an open book with us. She literally tells us everything, what happens at school. A lot of times she'll like show me her like on her phone, like her little like text thread with her friends, like, oh, look what so and so said. So like I trust her. And that's why I'm a little more open to like saying, okay, I think you're old enough, you're responsible enough. Let's go ahead and set this up for you so you can like, be fun and kick it. Like Makai, on the other hand, that brother doesn't let us see anything. You know what I'm saying? And he doesn't even have like a phone that works. He only has like the phone that's on Wi-Fi here, so he can like do his thing or whatever. But like I'll open the door to the room sometimes and put laundry up, and he's doing one of these. And I'm like, fam, what's up? Like I was you. Like I did that. So he's not getting a Facebook till he's 20. It's out the gate. This brother right here is me. So it's funny you say that because I completely already see it at an age difference. So at 9 years old, I don't trust him already. Like I'm going in his pockets every day. That's on God. But no, I think initially with me it was always like I just want to protect them from like the world because you're older, we know what's up. But even now, like I look at it, I'm like, fam, think about when we were 12. Like, for example, right? When I'm playing music in the car, like I try to do like edited so they don't hear bad words. But I'm like, fam, when they at school, they cussing up a storm. We're not, by the time I was 12, I knew every single lyric to every single No Limit record. You know what I'm saying? So like her being 12 now, I know she knows all the Meg Thee Stallions joints, all the Ice Spice, she loves Kendrick.
I still think though there's a benefit to having some sort of comfort around, not having, I'm assuming you don't cuss blatantly out to, your wife.
Yeah, no.
I'm assuming that's not like they're going to talk back to you and be like, well, F that. Like,
no, never
still
that.
like a kind of like a calm down. So yeah, maybe you listen to it. Maybe you're watching movies where it's there, but it's still kind of nice to just keep them a little away from the kind of vulgar.
Yeah, and I'm gonna always do that because I don't curse around them. I don't drink around them. You know what I'm saying? Like I still, when it's them, I'm trying to keep it as innocent and have a childlike presence as possible. But when I'm in the car and I've got like satellite radio on, and if Kendrick's playing or whoever, and like I'll still do the thing where I'm like trying to turn down the really quick to bleep the word, but then sometimes I'm like, fam, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I try to have to like say, okay, she is 12. I can't, I guess, harbor her like she's 4. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm a little more loose with it. And kind of like Brian, we're laid back parents. Like I trust her and all that good stuff and no locks on the door. But, she's so open with us. I'm like, okay, I'm going to allow this. But I was just curious on what y'all thought about that. Because at the same time, while I'm open with it, I'm also like, again, it's my baby girl and she's gorgeous. So if she posts a picture of her smiling and I see one comment saying just I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta find you and it's on site. You know what I'm saying? Like it can even be something mild.
You gotta be protective, like I said,
is Mildred the same way?
It's the funny thing, she's been open. She's been like for the past couple of years, like, oh, let's let them have one. Because all the kids wanted to do like the dumb TikTok dances, you know what I'm saying? Like they want to like just create TikTok dances. And I was like, okay, but no. Like kind of like what you said, like, yeah, they have toys. They don't need to, why watch kids play toys? Why record yourself playing? No. Yeah. But she's,
there was a generation where a few years back where everybody's just watching people play video games and they still do. It's like now kids are watching kids play toys. Now people are watching, like, why are you watching somebody play a video game? Why are you just not playing a video game?
You know what? I'm going to keep it a buck with that. I don't necessarily think that's super bad because I watch Food Network watching people cook. Like I can cook. So I'm not 100% like I don't knock if somebody wants to watch somebody like video games because they're maybe watching like the game player tutorial, like, oh, he did this on level
Right.
7 when I so I don't really knock that per se. Um,
Hmm.
I
I
just
just don't get it. Yeah,
yeah, I
I'm
just
not
can't
knocking it.
commit, but at the
This
same
is
time,
funny to
like
me.
I'll watch somebody barbecuing for an hour. Why?
Yeah.
So I don't
What-
I'm not
I think
really
Yeah.
the other thing with video games, real quick, because I used to do it a lot, is sometimes playing a video game is stressful. Like there's a lot of anxiety. So if you let somebody else take the wheel, then you can let them go through all the tragic, kind of getting their
And
heart.
watch them
Just kind of
get
watch it passively,
excited.
like, okay, good thing it wasn't me. Like, but to see someone also dominate something, like
Funny.
everybody's played Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, whatever, right? But to see
Mhm.
the best of the best play it, and
Yeah.
like, damn, like they're looking at every little pixel that can move away 1 millimeter and make a miss, respawn. Like they know every trigger and how to do it quick with their reflexes. That it's like
See,
you could never be on that level.
but
So it's
Bro,
almost like watching a
I used to
sport.
watch
this
gameplay of Resident Evil like it was a scary movie. Like, all right, who's
right.
jumping on next?
Nah,
Who's
see,
jumping?
I bring that up to say this, like to see the passion that you just had about watching them play Mortal Kombat and this, that's the same passion your son sees in kids playing the toys and stuff. So that's why I was saying it. Because everyone's different. Like, yeah, Don was saying, like, shoot, I grew up, I loved watching Food Network and watching people cook, and I can sit and I was watching I was at work watching people fish with the new fishing pole and stuff, the same fishing pole I just bought. I was like, okay, I want little tricks. Or hey, when I bought my smoker, I was like watching people like, hey, I'm gonna throw some ribs on the grill tonight. So I was watching like different barbecue sauce recipes the other day. So I made my own little barbecue sauce. I was like, I don't like what they did, but it gave me a good idea. So, but I made my own. So it's the same thing. It's like everybody's every generation a little different. Everybody's passion something else, but it's just funny when you look at it like, why are they doing that? But at the same time, like, hey, I did the same thing, but I did it over here. But
I
it's
think
cool.
the one reason why I'm kind of okay with it right now, especially with my little ones, is right now there's at least a balance. There's a balance between stuff that's educational, stuff
Mhm.
that's just mind numbing, and stuff that's like just going to make them laugh and giggle and whatever, right? And so that's not the worst thing in the world. They're still at the end of the day kids, and there's so much like seriousness and doing homework at first grade. It's like, all right, well, I never had homework till I was maybe fourth or fifth grade, right? They're all
Oh, dog.
way too much. So, and it seems like the school year has been lengthened and the summer's been shortened, and there's a lot of other stuff
Yeah.
going on. So it's like, all right, well, they can enjoy being a kid more, even if that means watching some not mind-numbing stuff 40% of the time, watching
Yep.
math and educational stuff and Bill Nye the other 30% of the time. You know what I mean? Like there's other stuff going on. So I'm okay with it right now. There's a balance. If it becomes
Yeah.
90%
Yeah.
dancing TikTok videos, then okay, like
That's
let's
something different.
switch
Yeah.
it up a little.
'Cause like I said,
I
especially
definitely
at
feel
this
like I've
age.
adapted like to like the parenting style now. Like I've switched because I remember saying like, hey, you guys only gonna get like 1 hour of screen time a day. But you're right, like it does seem like now all they do is homework. All during the week, it's nothing but school. You know what I'm saying? And there's times I feel bad they come home and they're like, yo, I've got like this 18-pound backpack full of books. I got mad homework, then I got to study for this, study for that. And by the time like they're done, it's 8 o'clock. And I'm like, yo, they literally just had their entire like they're done. You know what I'm saying? I feel bad with that. So yeah, you're right. Like there's days where they're like, Dad, I just want to sit in the bed and just watch stuff all day. I'm like, man, do that. You earned it. Until I bust in the door and you do this. Like I said, then it's different.
Like,
But yeah, man, I think now I'm more open and susceptible to allowing them to have some fun with it as long as I can monitor within reason. You know what I mean?
like,
I
It's
feel you.
so as I'm sitting back and listening to each of you guys talking, like, different parenting things and whatnot, for a brief moment, and I stress brief, for a brief moment, I was like, dang, you a horrible parent, Brian. Like you horrible. Like you guys talking in regards to like, oh, like, I don't subject my kids to this, or I don't let them see that, or I don't let them da, 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 da. And I'm like, damn, am I just lazy and I don't pay attention? I just don't care what my kids do. And so I felt bad for a minute, and then I thought to myself, nah, they just gonna parent like every parents their kids
Everybody parents
differently and
different.
whatnot. And so that's why also like part of the time I'm a little bit hesitant to give parenting advice.
Mm-hmm.
One, because I'm still like learning as I'm doing it myself and whatnot. And two, there's no set way, at least from my perspective, to parent a child. Just like you point out, you got one kid that's open and everything. the other kids hide and everything and whatnot. And as I talk about that 19-year-old again, like the way we like raised her up or whatever, where it's like, hey, yeah, do what you want to do, but we're gonna be like, aware of it. I feel like for my 5-year-old daughter, it's gonna be like, uh, do what you want to do, but you need to check with us first before you do it. And then best believe we're gonna be aware of it. Because this little girl, she's already like, not necessarily interested in boys, but she's interested in the idea of
Mhm.
like having a boyfriend or, being a girlfriend and all that jazz, wanting to put on makeup and wearing dresses and stuff. So she's much more girly than my oldest, you know what I mean? And so probably she's gonna be the one that's more flirtatious with boys and stuff like that. To which when she does have a Facebook or Instagram or wherever the case is, probably have to hover around that one a little more to see what these little boys are saying to her and her little uh DMs or whatever, and all that jazz, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I still don't feel like, all right, I have to, restrict her from doing this. Because again, I'm thinking the more restrictions you put, the more they're gonna pull situations
Mhm.
like Quincy's, where it's like, all right, yeah, she did have it and she's hiding it from us for a while. Now you gotta go to the punishment aspect of it, you know what I mean? And I think of the different stories where, you have like this kid and you're so strict on them. And then like once they're a little older, they get all rebellious and they start doing X, Y, and Z because, now they're 18, so they ain't gotta listen to you. And, 2 weeks after, they move out the house, they already knocked up or whatever, like so
Mhm.
I don't know what's gonna happen, and all I can do is just try to, be involved. And the whole concept like, oh, just want to protect them for society, protect them, like I, maybe I'm giving up to the point where it's like there's no way to protect them because there is everything around there. But I'm looking at like, all right, yeah, I could try to shield you so much from, social media or from people with comments. Like if you want to start up a YouTube page or whatever, and you're doing TikToks or whatever the case may be, yeah, I can turn off the comments so you're not seeing all these negative comments people
Mhm.
have or whatever. But at some point, somehow, some way, things are good. Maybe you have something that goes viral and someone shares a picture of you or your clip or whatever on something else, and they do have the comments on, you know what I mean? So I feel like not that I'm helpless to where I can't protect them, but I feel like I have a better shot of rather than protecting or shielding them from it, being the walking through it with them, where it's like, all right, yeah, like, all right, they're gonna tell you that, or you have these comments and they're saying XYZ. Well, let me be there to support you and be like, oh no, like disregard that. That's just a troll, or this is this is that, kind of
Mhm.
walk through and educate them as they go through that stuff because again, at some point it's gonna hit them. So maybe it's like I'm just saying, like, hey, let's rip off the band-aid and just go with it. And no, that's not to say like, oh yeah, just like expose them to everything at the youngest age, but like as they gradually have interest. So if Tyler has interest saying, "Hey, I want a Facebook now," I
Mhm.
think it's soon the sooner you get her a Facebook, the better because
Yeah.
the more she like is without it. Once she does get it, she's gonna want to go like make up for a lost time. Start adding this group, adding that group, adding this friend, adding that friend. So and so if you can kind of walk through it with her, maybe that will help. And
Yeah.
then with the little man, Makai, like hiding stuff and everything, like, if it's like you open the door and he's just like snatching it, it's like, no, 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 hey, no, keep doing what you're doing. What are you doing, though? Like, like
Oh,
I'm
I
not gonna
have.
freak out. I'm not gonna freak out because you're like, like a little 12-year-old boy watching like, like softcore porn, like, oh, well, you know what I mean? Because
Mhm.
that's what we were doing, or that's what
Ain't
some
no
people
soft
were doing.
anymore these
You
days.
know what I mean? Like,
On the internet, they ain't
Max,
soft.
and so it's like, all right, like
Max.
you're gonna do what you're gonna do. I understand it. Just like, hey, I need you to know some things about this. These aren't necessarily what you should be doing right now. Like, oh, you're interested in girls? Okay, well, like, hey, this is something you like.
Yeah.
Again, I didn't buy porno magazines or anything of that nature. I had friends that had those, but what did I do? I did buy what Maxim magazine and Stuff magazine or whatever. So like, like, oh, I can see Sports Illustrated. That's where I first like Tyra Banks, Sports Illustrated swimsuit. Like I had that swimsuit magazine. I had the poster, two different Tyra Banks posters, like up in my room, like. And again, my
That
parents are
was the
like, all right,
one.
whatever. I mean, like he's at that age where you're gonna start liking girls and everything, and that was probably the more appropriate route as opposed to like again watching like adult videos and stuff like that. So maybe if that's the situation
BET
with him, maybe
Uncut.
you could do that. Maybe he's like trying to look at like songs or music with like the parental advisory on it and stuff like that. And you're like, yeah, you don't need to be listening to uh Megan Thee Stallion talking about being a thought pocket or like, yeah, well, you can listen to something else, like if you're there with him and let him know, like, hey, no, I'm not gonna scold you and like shut you down because you did what you shouldn't do, but like, hey, that's not what you should do. Let's do this instead. Kind of like, because I think a lot of kids, at least myself, back when I was that age and I was hiding stuff from my parents, I was afraid they're gonna like chew me out and crucify me, as opposed to just being like, all right, well, hey, I'm not punishing you. I'm just saying, like be easy with it, like something of that nature. I
1000%.
mean, maybe,
Yeah.
and that's just my opinion of maybe a way to approach it. Not saying it's right because I don't know,
No, I
but
respect it.
just
And
the way
and the
I think
thing
of things.
I respect it. And the thing is like there is no right or wrong, fam. Like you said, like I'm learning
Yeah,
every single day. Every day is a learning. That like with this is learning. That's all I was asking y'all. Like I'm legit learning every single day as she gets older, as the boys get older. They're all around the same age, but they all have their own different personalities. And to simultaneously have to deal with different personalities, like it's challenging. You know what I'm saying? So when you were
Yep.
like, I'm sitting back listening to you guys thinking like, oh, am I a great parent? Fam, there's times I don't think I'm the greatest parent because I'm like, I
Yeah.
feel like I give them some type of advice or like they come to me or I see they're upset. So I respond to them. And then I see how they walk off still upset. I'm like, I thought I said the right thing or I thought I was, you know what I'm saying? So I never
yeah.
know. But to me, I'm
So,
Yeah.
like, all we're doing
so
is learning. And at the end of the day, all I can do is just be here, let them know I'm here, hold them down in any way, shape, or form. And that's to me, that's the basis I could do in terms of parenting.
yeah,
All the other stuff that comes with it, I'm gonna mess up because I'm like I said,
Well,
I'm
Yeah.
learning.
I
Yeah, we
think one
all
of the
I
learning
biggest.
different ages,
I know
different
this is our Black
parenting.
men's group and everything of that nature, but since we're in regards to the question of parenting or whatever, to wrap it up, I'm gonna go ahead and bring in like the complete opposite of what we would be. So essentially, like the token white girl wife, and I'm gonna see what her thoughts are in regards to what is the appropriate time
Focus
for. You
group.
said Taylor, she's 13, right? Was it or
She's
12?
12. 12,
12.
yeah.
Okay, 12-year-old daughter of Dawn. She wants a Facebook. What are your thoughts?
Instagram.
Or Instagram?
No.
She says no.
No.
Why no? Because
Because
Jessica had one like for a minute and a Facebook for a minute. So
yeah, but she wasn't on them. That was me.
I know, yeah, you created them for her,
No,
but
kids are mean. Kids bully. It's too easy to get to people, even if you make things private. It just takes that one friend to be mad at you one day to take a screenshot to share it to everybody. So no, absolutely not.
so
And see, I'm with that, but then at the same time, she goes to a big school. So what's the difference? You know what I'm saying? Like,
That's a what?
It
the big
never gets
school.
deleted.
yeah.
Once it's on the internet, it's forever.
True. True. Okay, but see, that's why I asked. That's why I asked because that's
She's
and these are the
saying
things,
that, but best believe my daughter Aria, she gonna be having that. So
and
it's
these
just
are the
gonna be the
things I
same
thought
thing
of
that
too.
where like her mom's running
If
it.
Arya has something, she's gonna have like a YouTube page that we run because she's gonna be an artist or a singer. That's why.
Yeah. See,
We'll see.
Okay,
but I
bye.
feel that though, and that's the conversations I was having and the thoughts. I'm like, all right, well, what if someone screenshots something or whatever? So I feel that, and I
I
saw.
think one of the biggest dangers, though, is because I think about that is, we've been well manicured in the different things that we put together. Like you said, I have a lot of editing music. I do a lot of things with making sure that the shows I want to watch are later. They're busy, out of the way. But it's then when you go to school or different parties or different events, whatever, and there's other kids around, that's when they get influenced, the peer pressure type stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like because another parent won't parent their kids either in the same ballpark where they have hot Cheetos for breakfast and they call that a stimulating breakfast. It's like my kids are all the way to like vegetarian vegan and they're eating hot Cheetos and like, hey, like soda and hot Cheetos is fine. Like, hey, I'm being a kid. And then so it's like even Halloween coming up, right? They go trick-or-treating, they get bags of candy, they probably eat 10 pieces of candy and the rest gets thrown away.
Facts.
Whereas there's
Right.
kids that literally I'm emptying this bag. I'm taking this bag to my bedroom and I'm just going to take a piece every couple hours. But it's like, my kids are not like that, right? But it's only when they go outside of the doors of this house,
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden, their favorite song is Pharrell, Happy, and their friend's favorite song is Bodak Yellow. And
Yeah.
it's like, and they're repeating it word for word. And they are introducing, oh, I got a white gold chain. Like, what's going on with you? Why aren't you showing your blackness? Like, it's that type of stuff where it becomes calm down, slow down, like, and I have to almost unlearn some of the things that he's picking up from,
Yeah.
to me, the people and the parents that are not parenting correctly. So it's hard to just allow people to say parent however you want to parent when your presence is nice. It's nice to be able to provide insight when necessary and to be that backbone and that support, but you got to do something. You can't just let them rule your lives and try to be their best friend.
Facts.
You said parenting correctly, though, and that's where the issue is, though, because like, what's correct?
Yeah.
Now, the majority of people would probably be like, yeah, like, letting your kids eat hot Cheetos for breakfast is not correct. But, at the same time, like, eating a Pop-Tart, is that wrong? Is there a problem with that? Like, because Pop-Tarts hella sugar and they're not healthy whatsoever.
It's
But,
fair.
most kids be eating them or whatever. And I look at it based off of, obviously, when we grew up, things are different, like the foods we eat are different, even that, but, I'm really cautious to say things as far as like, oh, they're not raising their kid right, or this, and that, and so on and so forth. Because, for all I know, I'm thinking I'm raising my kid right, only for them to be like that next serial killer. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So
It happens.
there's certain things, and like going back to the whole music aspect of it or whatever. I'm thinking back in the day, like the songs we listened to and everything, like, yeah, they're hella inappropriate, but
You like Crew?
I didn't think that so much. I didn't care for it so much, especially the lyrics. I just like the beat. Like all I want to do is zoom, 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 and a boom, boom, just shake your rump. Like body rocking,
You didn't like
knocking.
Akinyele for the beat?
I was gonna say, I'm gonna be honest.
Like,
I was a big Too Short fan even then. I was listening to Too Short for the beat. I was listening to him when he said, I was
Betty.
14 years old when I first got my, you know what I'm saying? Like, we were listening to the beat.
Betty,
I knew
yeah.
exactly what I was listening
Betty.
for.
But
You know
like
what I'm
you're
saying?
in like okay, so,
like corn on the cob, you know what that was about.
Yeah.
Corn on the cob.
Yeah, we were listening to it for the beat.
Don. So you're listening to Too Short. It's talking about being 14 years old when you got dick sucked or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Now, are you a pedophile? Are you very like a sexual person where like like you have an addiction or something of that nature?
No, not at all. But
Okay.
I mean,
and so you grew up with this music,
but I had no business. That came out in '94. I was 9 years old. I had no business listening to that, but I wasn't listening to it for the beat. I just knew, you know what it was? I knew I wasn't supposed to, and it was so like, I guess, outlandish. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And that's why I gravitated to it. Like my dad had these tapes around.
But you turned out normal. That's what I'm saying. I'm getting as like, it's like, all right, yeah, like it's okay for some taboo things, or like again, Makai, when he's hiding something from you, yes, you as a father, you should know what what it is that he's looking at. But especially if it's just like, again, something simple as like, he saw like a picture of some titties, like, yeah, you don't need to be doing that like on the regular, but you're not like, oh my gosh, like we need to send you to boarding school, like,
no.
Because it's like, yeah,
y'all gotta
like,
remember,
you're gonna experience life, and there's different things you can experience where it's okay, and it's not gonna, hopefully, it's not gonna turn you out to be a creeper, something like that.
True.
But there's just different things in different ways, different people react. So I feel like I don't know. It's whatever, I guess.
I feel it. What are you gonna say, Q?
I'll close with this because I know we about to end this soon, but y'all gotta remember, like, it was harder for us to see certain things. Like now you're freaking 5 seconds away in your phone. Like we didn't have access to, like we had to go buy a CD or had to have somebody at school to have a CD to watch or a movie or a magazine or whatever. You can get on a site in 5 seconds and see anything and hear anything, hear Nicki, hear Cardi B, hear all this garbage. But we had to actually get a CD and stuff, and we had to go to the store to buy a CD, and they actually had parental advisory stickers on there, so we couldn't buy it easily. We got it eventually, but it was an effort. Now it's effortless to see and hear everything.
I agree, and I'll end on this. I do think we had as easy access as they do now. Of course, we didn't have social media, but
Jet magazine.
The music was there. The jet, like I said, the magazines were there. It didn't have to be Playboy, but the magazines were there. On the radio, they were giving it up. They weren't saying like explicit stuff, but we had Lil Kim, we had SWV talking about cheating on your man, and so it was there, and like
It wasn't
Joe
as
said,
explicit
we
and it
had
wasn't direct. It
True.
wasn't as explicit
true, but
as it is now.
I feel like the accessibility for us in our generation was there just as it is there today. And the kids, even though the accessibility is there, they're not rushing to go look for it. You know what I'm saying? I'll just say that.
I think they don't even have to because it's just there. They don't because like us, we had to go out to look for it. We had to try hard. We had to get a CD and stuff. Like I said, now it's nothing for them to just like I said, it's just so accessible. It's nothing to them. That's what I'm getting at.
Were you purposely trying to look for it as a kid? I guess that's my thing. It's
Like like remember at least with me because I know I'm only a couple years older than everybody, but like I remember when that Trina and that
You know,
that
man.
Trina and Trig that Nan like I was at school like we had to go to www.lyrics.com and print it out like dude you know what she said look what she said right here look like you see that like now they don't have to do all that like we had to go out our way to see that oh damn she said that dang that I never heard a girl say something like that before like I never heard this like and look she actually wow that's crazy but yeah so we had to go out our at least I did I had to go out my way to hear and see a lot of that stuff because I'm the same like when I'm in the car like if I have certain thing on like I mute it or most of the time I listen to R&B in the car anyway especially when my son's in the car so he doesn't hear half the stuff but like even like when I was like, younger, like the radio stations didn't play. They play SWV and stuff. But as a kid, you're singing a song. You don't really know that saying. Oh, that means I'm cheating on you and stuff like that. You don't know creeping,
DLC
start
Creep.
creeping
I was
out the
listening to
corner.
that like crazy,
Yeah,
thinking that was like just a cool song. I didn't
yeah,
know
you just think it's a
creeping
good
was
song.
creeping on your man, or like so.
Like I used to sing that Joe song all the time. I want to know and like go down to the subway. Like I didn't know he meant go down and like that. I just like oh I was singing that all day every day, but I didn't really think about it. Like nowadays, like they don't even try to hide it. There's no ending windows.
I feel
I,
it.
I will. I will say on the bright side, I think generally, if you look back and if your kids look back when they're now 25, whatever, right, they'll probably appreciate whatever presence you have, whatever type of like steps along the way you took, whether it is a more sheltered, whether it is a more open. I think they'll appreciate kind of their childhood and appreciate what they went through and appreciate how they've turned out. Because I think even when I was kind of a late bloomer, right? It wasn't like I was super promiscuous in high school and I know people were going to parties and doing things. I know people were trying cigarettes, trying weed, and all those other types of things. I abstain. Like all these things that people get to early on and they're like, oh, it's just fun to just kind of be risque and to kind of grow up fast and be an adult. But it's like once you get there, there's nothing at the end of the rainbow. Like it's all right,
Yeah,
all right, now what? Like now you get into something harder, you get into something more crazier, like you're trying to catch
yeah,
that next high. I don't know, like just
yeah.
for me,
I agree. I
Maybe.
appreciate my mom for doing that because like I could have been like, my friends having kids in high school or my, cousin at age 13 having her first kid and stuff like that. I could have easily been like that, but like, yeah. So I appreciate, somewhat quote unquote the shelter, but it's just that involvement. It's like, hey, I'm here. You don't need to do all this craziness. Like, because I think my mom, like, trust me, I got friends that are people that I grew up with back in the day were friends that got into drugs, got into gangs, got into this, that, and the other. Some are dead and gone, some are in jails, everything else. But
yeah.
like I know people that didn't even make it out of high school and stuff, rather because they passed or because they just didn't graduate. But so I'll
Well, and the other
definitely
thing though, too, I don't know if you ever reminisced, like the ones that got away, right? And you look at them, you're like, oh, they peaked at like 18, 19.
Facts.
yeah,
Oh
That was
yes,
a terrible road down. Like
big facts.
dodged a bullet. So
hundred
But
percent.
and again, being the contrarian, I have to point it out though that again, for every one of those tragic stories, there are some positive stories too, or vice versa. Like sad enough, like there's this one girl that I went to elementary school with. I don't want to say she went to high school with me as well, but I didn't, associate with her or whatever, like different cliques and stuff like that. But for the most part, I want to say like her uh she had a nice upbringing, pretty straight laced with the parents and all that jazz and everything. Like, wouldn't say a straight A student, but like a good student and all that jazz. So I think she did have some restrictions and whatnot growing up. And then lo and behold, like she gets to that adult life, in her 20s and whatnot. Apparently she started hanging out with the wrong crowd or something like that, met some people and ended up ODing on some drugs or whatever. It's not like she was introduced to it at a young age and she was probably restricted from it and whatnot, but because you've been restricted so long, all of a sudden now, like you're in this open real world and you don't have any street knowledge, you end up falling victim to things of that nature. Some people that, yes, they did have kids at a young age, when they're in high school or wherever the case was, but that actually helped them out because now they're more responsible, knowing that they have to
Yeah,
be responsible for this child and whatnot. So it goes back full circle to like I'm saying,
it
where
does.
I
It
can't say
can make
there's one way to raise parents or raise kids or vice versa because everybody's different. And it's like, for all those kids that are like, yeah, I thank my parents for like, having me not do this or having me not doing that and so on and so forth. You have other ones that are like, dang, man, I would like, even myself, like as much as I appreciate my parents and everything, like, for everything that they did allow me to be the person I am now. I also am like, man, like I'm kind of bummed out that y'all didn't like, like I wanted to go to that basketball camp and like
yeah,
you guys never signed me up for that basketball camp. My life could have been totally different. I'm kind of
yeah,
mad dad didn't
same.
take that job in Chicago. He took that job in Chicago. I would have been able to ball with some ball players in Chicago and I would, like so I mean like there's certain things that I do I don't regret or I hate my parents for it, but it's like, man, like, I
It's all those
appreciate
what
this and
ifs.
this, but things would have been
Yeah,
completely
it's
different
always
if,
that.
so on and so forth. So
Yeah,
it's really just boiled down to the kid and how they are receptive to your
exactly.
parenting.
Now,
It's
do
like
you
the
think,
saying
do you
that,
think,
the same boiled water can, you can make that egg hard or you can make that potato soft. It's every home is different, everybody's parents is different, you gotta take the good with the bad. Having a kid at age 18 would have definitely could have made your life a blessing or, could have messed up because like if you didn't have them, you would have probably kept running the streets, kept doing this, kept doing that, could have been in jail, could have done it like everything, it's always this what ifs. Like, what if I
Yeah.
did this? What if I drove here? And hey, if you went here that day, you could maybe got it. Went to that bar that day, they shut it up or whatever. Like, oh, I didn't go there. Like, I'm glad I didn't do that that day. I'm glad I left that party early.
now,
I'm glad I left that
when
Diddy
you,
party early. It's like whatever.
when you think about, like when you pass and you're looking at the pearly gates and God's doing the rundown of your life, do you
Yeah.
think you get to see a butterfly effect of what branch you could have took with every little thing? Hey, now if you would have majored in social work, you would have ended up here. If you would have went to University of Florida versus ASU, you would have went here. If you
I
would
would
have married
absolutely hate that. I
Sabrina
wouldn't.
instead of
Exactly. I was going to say the same thing. I don't want to see it because
I
if I
wouldn't want
see
that.
that, I was like, really? I could have been a millionaire if I didn't date that girl, or I could have,
Yeah,
or I could
no,
have
I
did this
wouldn't.
if I did that. If I took that job offer, but at the same time, like, hey, I would have been on the streets if I didn't move, if I stayed in, like I said, I seriously think I would have if I stayed in Denver, like, because I was debating if when I was in Denver to go to Arizona with my mom, I think I would have been in horrible shape if I stayed in Denver, just with how the mentality of my family and friends and stuff out there are and still are and is and were. I'm glad I moved to Arizona because I don't know where I'll be. But yeah, so I was like, I don't want to see it. Like, but I was actually kind of thinking about that yesterday. It was funny. I was just thinking about that. I was like, what do you believe in? Do you believe in that? Do you believe in reincarnation? Do you believe you go back and try it again, do that stuff? But at the same time, we always, like I said, we always had those what ifs. Like, I want to know if I decided to do that, what what would my life be like? If I decided to take that road that way, would I be over here? Would I still be happy? If I took this
See,
job in this state, if I went to Portland instead of Seattle, where would I be? There's always those in
See,
your
he's
back of your
thinking
mind,
about
like,
that deep. I'm just thinking about the branches like, dang, I could have hit. I knew I should have asked her for a number. Like, yo, if I'd have just given it a little more thought, like her, I could have hit her. I knew it. Like, that's what I
Yeah.
would have been thinking about. Y'all
but at
talking
the
about
same
like
time, that's the same thing.
So
y'all
Like,
talking
because
about
hey,
left
I
and
could
right.
have
I'm
hit
like,
it,
yo, I could have beat. Oh, I'm tight. I should have asked. I should have talked to her.
but at the
so
same time, you
I
could have
don't
beat,
think
you could
Or
have got
you're
her knocked
walking
out, and
out
you
and
could have
someone
been
else is walking
miserable.
in, you're like, dang, that was
If I'd have held the door for her instead of oh boy, like that could have been me on the other side.
so.
Yeah, it's the
I
butterfly effect.
going back to Harold's question, I don't think, yeah, in the pearly gates they give you like the what if you're able to see those scenarios, because I think one, from the spiritual standpoint, like everything that happens in your life happens the way it's supposed to be. So there is no what if in the sense of like, oh well, if you took this road instead of that, no, you never were going to take that road because God knew you were going to take the road that you took. It is what it is. That's what happened. So I don't think there's a what if there. But I do consistently think of like, oh man, if I did this, if I did that. Looking again back at like old flames or old girlfriends, old like, crushes and stuff like that, seeing where they're at now. And it's like, dang, like, or being able to talk and reminisce because you reconnect on Facebook and all that stuff. And it's like, oh yeah, such and such had a crush on you. Like, what? Who she on this? Like, oh, and like Don, yeah, like I would have hit like I consistently tell this when I'm talking to my acquaintances or friends, and we got on topics like this. I'm like, man, like if I knew then what I know now,
Oh,
like
brother.
I would have been such a whore. Like, like here it is.
Too
Again,
bad.
I thank my parents for raising me the way they raised me to where like, like I was a nice little prude, good boy, didn't, was respectful to women and all this stuff and da 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 da. But then after like experiencing life and seeing the way like, it ain't no thing for a girl to get down, and it's like it's just life, like whatever, and like they aren't like me putting the on a pedestal or like being like it wasn't so cherished or whatever, like yeah, like I'm like, man, no, I would have been like I would have been fucking like
Mm-hmm.
just like doing a whole bunch of ish, like I always talk about, man, like if I could go back and do the things I do differently, if I could go back and do it again, if I could go back to like my junior high school days or whatever, I would have did any and everything in my willpower to get a variance to go to Cactus so I could hang out with Don, so I can hang out with Harold, so I could make the basketball team with the actual good basketball coach, so I could be the next Mark Bowens, shooting like 1,000 shots or whatever and balling. Like I would have did so many different things different. Like, would
Mm-hmm.
I go to ASU? No, like I would have like did like junior college for a little bit or whatever, so I could get my bread up or whatever, and then like transfer somewhere else. I would have saved up money like Quincy and like moved out of Arizona, went to Seattle or go to Los Angeles. There's so many what ifs and things like I would do,
Yeah.
and I have it in my mind as to how it would have worked out. So I'm comfortable with it and I'm content. Like, all right,
Yeah.
like that would have been
Like,
cool. It didn't happen. It is what it is. At least I know what
yeah,
would have
it
happened
is
if,
what it
you know.
is. It's like the game
Yeah.
said, if I could start my life from scratch, I wouldn't change ish. Same rep. But yeah,
Mhm.
it is what it is. I'm happy where I'm at. We all happy, we all good, we all grown,
I
good
ain't happy,
men
but
doing our thing.
it is what it is. I'm just, I just know where I
She said
stand.
I
Like
she must have left the room. She like I ain't
I'm
happy.
happy. I'm happy with the family I have, but I'm not happy
Yeah.
with my work situation. I'm not happy with my living situation. There's a
Oh
whole bunch of
no.
things where I'm like, man,
There's
like
always things could be
you
better,
could
but
do
shoot,
different. But yeah, I'm
like I
content
said,
with
it
it.
could
I'll
be
say
worse.
that.
It'd be worse. Like you could be on the street
True.
right now. You got a house, you got a loving family, you got a job. Like shoot, it could be a lot worse. There's people that don't
Absolutely.
got half of what you got. So hey,
don't
be
worry, nobody
grateful.
that you work with watches the podcast.
Hey,
Shoot,
even if they did,
they
it's
know.
like, I ain't say nothing to like, disrespect any of my coworkers other than like maybe they'd be like, oh dang, I thought I was your friend, bro. Like, dude, have we ever hung out outside of work?
Exactly.
We ain't friends, like that ain't nothing wrong, you know what I mean? So, it is what it is, but you know,
I
but
know we about to wrap up, but really quick, give me what y'all listening to this week. Anything new, if anything at all.
nothing new. Like, believe it or not, like, okay, well, I'll say this real quick. So going back to I feel like the last meeting or conversation, like I was very disrespectful uh, uh, to my supreme leader, goat Kanye West. Apologies in regards to the disrespect for the Vultures 2 album. I still don't like it, but when he had the additional he had 5 additional tracks that came out, and listening to those and then listening to the rest of the album makes it a little bit better. So I can't knock it fully. Also, rumor is he actually is going to come out with another album. I forget the title of it right now, but it's probably again one of those ones where it gets pushed back, pushed back, pushed back, and maybe never will come out, like a couple other of his albums that went through. But I have listened more to Vultures, and then beyond that, believe it or not, for some reason I went back to the old school, Bone Thugs and Harmony, East 99 Eternal. I don't know why, but like I started listening to that again, and like
No
again,
shows, no
me
losses,
listening to it
baby.
back in the day versus me listening to it now, it's like, damn, like they really talked a lot about weed. Like weed, like
More than that, but yeah.
but
But
yeah,
yeah,
so that's what I'm listening to.
Nice.
nothing new really. Like it was funny. Like I was thinking of yesterday. I was driving. I was thinking of artists that I haven't heard in the longest. So I was just like, for some reason, dude popped in my head. I was like, hey Google, play David Hollister. So I don't know if y'all remember David Hollister
I
from
mean,
back in the
yes, we
day.
remember him.
But yeah, I was like, dude, he has some bangers. So I was like, now freaking Google's about to play David Hollister as I said it. I hear in the background about to play. Uh, hey Google, stop.
You want to come say what's up?
But yeah, so I started playing some of that and this on Pandora. So just playing some old school 90s R&B and stuff. So that's what I've been on this. That's where I'll probably be on this weekend too.
Nice. Dang, he got big.
Yeah, look, come here. That's Jordan.
I haven't seen him
Oh,
in
I
a
was gonna say
minute.
Jordan or Makai. What up, Jordan?
What's up?
What's
Yeah.
up, man?
What's up?
Your brother just crept in here. I was sitting there talking. All of a sudden, he
It's a
started
grown
saying
boy.
Jordan Army style on the floor like this. I'm like, oh, what you doing? I'm
Hey, it
like,
looked like you got the start for the Cowboys.
oh, okay. All right, go sit down.
Nice.
But yeah, no. So I was just asking because, like, it's funny you say Bone Thugs. If you like Busy Bone, he just dropped the album, and I'm not gonna lie to you, it was okay.
Really?
The thing is, I wasn't even checking for it. You know how I come across your timeline? I was like, let me just see what he's talking about. It wasn't bad. It's called Busy Bone. So just the first song is dope. So after the first song, it kind of like has its peaks and valleys. But if you want to get like I guess a dose of new Bone Thugs music, he just dropped it, I think like 2 weeks ago. So listen to
That's
it.
why.
I was more
That's
lazy
funny.
and
That's
crazy.
why
Those are
he was
my
on my
two songs I
timeline
would go ahead
too.
and
He's about to perform up here coming up soon. He's I saw him on my timeline talking about he's coming up here to perform. I was like, dang, what, he's really performing? That's crazy. No wonder, because he just dropped a new album.
Yeah, but the thing it's been stuck in and like with me for at least a month since it dropped is that Doshi tape.
I'm
I've
listening to it.
listened to.
I'm
I don't
listening
know
to
if
it.
you guys have not listened to it yet, but that Doshi tape is all. It's in contention for me.
It's good. I like the second half better than the first half.
I agree. That part I agree.
Some of it does seem like a mixtape. Some of it does seem like an album.
Yeah. Well, she said that it's more of a mixtape, but for a full length project, I guess, quote unquote, it is.
I didn't like when she was like in whisper mode. And then when she
I was
probably
okay
started
with it.
talking,
You know why? Because that's like the TDE like form. They all do that to a degree. Like you could tell she's trying to have a little Kendrick, a little Ab, a little, you know what I'm saying? I like it. It's a very solid project. So I think that's what I've been listening to the most. Obviously, I'm in my R&B bag with, the whatever drops there, but in terms of like rap, it's been Doshi and it's been what else? It's been like some of the older stuff, but it's tough, man. It's tough.
there's a lot that's come out, and I just have not been motivated to. Even Talib Kweli came out with a new album. Haven't been really listening to that one. There's a new that new LL. It was okay, but I'm not really going back to it. Big
I
Sean,
will
we're going
say
back to that.
I was surprised that the LL's joint was listenable. But yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not gonna go back to it because
because it was
I
very
said
New
this.
York.
Yeah, I said this a few pods ago. Like, it's at some point I don't want to hear it anymore. Like, I appreciate it. I appreciate our greats that put out music. Their pen is good. They still sound sharp. I just don't, you know what I'm saying? I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm chilling. You did it for me. I appreciate you, but I'm all right.
The biggest disappointment for me too that came out recently was the Toby Nwigwe. I didn't like it. It like I expected so much more from it. It was like Hood Hymns was the
Yeah.
album title. It just
Yeah.
didn't do it. But I am surprised more than the Doshi. I'm listening to Denzel Curry. His
Okay,
album is
that
nice.
wasn't bad. That
It
wasn't bad.
sounds like very Project Pat, Juicy J, like
Yeah.
he has like a bop to it. And I'm like, it don't even sound like him. Like each project, he sounds a little bit different, like, but it sounds good. So
And then
no.
one, oh, this is gonna be a hot take, and I hate saying this. I might have to add Currency to that list pretty soon, man, because he dropped his tape. Oh, at some point, it's all kind of sounding the same. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I'm still a Spitter fan, but
I
I
put
might
together my
add him.
favorites, which was like 200 tracks, and then like, whatever else is just icing. I don't really care.
Yeah, so he might get added to that list pretty soon of like, unless you put out an actual, I sat with Hit Boy and did a full length cohesive project.
Part two with Jermaine Dupri.
Yeah, exactly. We're still waiting on that. So I don't know, man. There's a lot of, I'm not checking for it that much anymore. I'm really not.
I think it just depends on the artist and how interested you are in them or whatever, though. Because I mean, like, one, when you just said like, all right, yeah, like Currency, like new project, it just sounds like the same. It's like I'm hyped about that. Like, good, because like I can listen to Currency and be like, all right, yeah, like I want to cruise. Like, let me just take a road trip wherever. And like, it's good. Yes, it sounds like something he did like 3, 10, 12 years ago, but I enjoy it. So I think for me, I probably still enjoy that. But I could see how in the scenario with LL Cool J, like, yeah, LL something like a phenomenon, that was cool or whatever, or LL Cool J baddest, like whatever, like, yeah, that at the time was good, but it's not
Mhm.
something you like seek out or you're looking forward to. So I can see why, yeah, he'd be done, but a Currency wouldn't be done for me because I'd be looking for that same consistency. I do enjoy that, and I'd want to
I
continue
think
to
my
maintain
my
that.
thing with Currency, because I want to agree. I think my only thing with that is it's at the amount of the clip of stuff he puts out. If he put out the same sounding, I guess, album once a year, I might be a little more open to listening to it. But he's putting out a tape every quarter. And that's the thing. Like you're putting out
Okay,
three,
yeah,
four
yeah,
albums a year sounding the same. I love Currency, but at some point I don't want to just put on background music just to ride to. Like I want to
I
sit
got you.
with the project. I want to listen to it. Like I'm not some type of person that analyzes every single hi-hat, lyric, word, all of that. But yeah, no, at some point, like, come on, God, give me something a
So
little different.
I think with Currency specifically, I think um what's replaced what I listen to Currency with is Larry June. I think when I want to listen to that ride-in music
Facts.
with the production he does with Alchemist and with Cardo and with I think Larry June has kind of replaced what I listen to Currency for. But I think the reason is because Currency has not been the same. Currency used to have a more up speed. He was a spitter,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
now he's
yeah.
kind of slowed down his drawl
Mhm.
and made things a lot. It sounds like he's high every track, which he probably is.
He is.
It's like he's not spitting as many words per minute, so
Yeah,
then it sounds slower. And if I listen to something slower, I'm going to listen to something a little bit better, which is Larry June at this point. So it's just like
that's a
if
good
he
point.
sped up his flow and his cadence, and he added more words and more metaphors and all that stuff, then I'd be back on it. But he just hasn't. He doesn't seem motivated in most of his tracks.
That's New Orleans spitter. That's like now we're getting LA, California, car
Mhm.
life. And cool. That's dope. And again, it is something to ride to. Like when he gets with Harry Fraud or something like that, and the
Yeah,
production is fire. Like, oh yeah, you put in this and it's nice to ride to. But eventually, like when you see a new spitter album, you're like, oh, dope. And you press track one, and da, 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 and it's like, okay, here we go. Same beat, same chord. And it's like, all right, I like
Yeah.
spitter, so I'm gonna play it.
I
But
think you can immediately tell even when Lil Wayne comes on. When Lil Wayne comes on, you could tell if it's the motivated Lil Wayne or if it's the I
mhm.
phoned this in Lil Wayne.
Wayne has kind of been on a tear, though. I'm not gonna lie. Some of his more recent
Because he's been
features,
motivated. He's got a
he's been
little
on
kick in
an
the pants.
absolute
I
tear.
like I haven't listened to Wayne in forever, but like I feel like he's been unmotivated for like however long. There's phoning it
Really?
in, like, and I've never really understood. Like there's that period where like his like the mixtape God,
Mhm.
and like everything was Lil Wayne, and like I feel like he peaked after Carter 3, and then like it's like all right, yeah, like I'm gonna do Carter 4, now I'm gonna do Rebirth, whatever the other rock one that what he did, and it's like he got like high off of like his like greatness to where it's like all right, yeah, I really don't even have to like work at it. I'm just gonna
When
say
we
or whatever.
when we're
And
done,
and
I'm
so I
gonna
never
put
really thought he was as deep or as great as everybody said he is. And I will take that back and be like, no, like he actually really, really, really is good with his lyricism and so on and so forth. But sometimes he just like has great lyricism thrown in with like stupid stuff where it's like, you know.
I'm gonna
off
put
my
a couple of his
call it donkey
recent.
pussy. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, it's just
Yeah.
stupid. Like,
I'm gonna put a couple of his like recent joints in the group chat. So in case you haven't heard him, because like
okay,
his
thanks.
I'll check it
features
out.
this year and last year, he's been on one.
I'll peep it out.
Yep.
But yeah,
Yeah.
let's call it
Interesting.
because I'm about to go take her to go get breakfast. And
You look like you
get
dressed
ready.
for something.
We about to go eat.
He about to go do his brunch. He about to go get some mimosas and you know what I'm saying, and some
We're now
huevos
about to get
rancheros.
About to get some menudo.
Menudo.
Stomach
Menudo and
Dope.
I gotta go to the bathroom just you saying that. Like,
That joke.
on a Sunday
Oh,
morning,
horchata.
what's wrong with that, bro?